I know a lot of people probably already know about this trick, but if you don't have double stick tape, you can use masking tape like this blue painter's tape and super glue. Just stick it to your template and stick it to your workpiece, and you can hold two pieces together very securely. They won't move on you, and you can pry them apart afterwards. And the only thing that's actually stuck to your workpiece is painter's tape, which of course is relatively easy to remove, a lot easier than glue, and it doesn't leave behind sticky residue like double stick tape would. It's also thinner. Double stick tape tends to be a little bit thick, and then maybe there'll be a little bit of a wobble because the painter's tape is nice and thin. They stay pretty tight together. Obviously, there's a small gap because there's something in between them, but it's a smaller gap than you would get with most double stick tape. So that's what I'm doing here so that I can run them on my router table, which is actually what I'm working on right now, my makeshift router table. I took a piece of plywood and I sanded it as flat as I could, drilled a hole in the middle, and secured my router to the underside. And I just have it between my workmate right there. It's not amazing, but it definitely gets the job done. It's better than nothing. So now I've moved out to my garage where I can make all the wood chips and all the noise that I want to make. I have my hearing protection on here, as you can see. I don't need it just yet because the machine's not running. But I'm just going around with my square, trying to ensure that the bit is coming out of the table relatively square. I did this before I moved it, and then I just wanted to check and make sure that nothing got bumped out of whack. And now I'm just going to go around slowly, carefully, making sure that you move the correct direction. If you notice in the video, there's a couple times where I was moving the wrong direction and it started to, the bit tried to grab it on me. You always want to be moving into the blades. You don't want to be moving the same direction that it's spinning because it'll grab your workpiece and try and throw it across the room. I had a couple moments where I forgot which way I was supposed to be moving and I went the wrong way and it tried to grab it. Luckily, it didn't ruin anything, but it is something you want to watch out for. Pay attention. Move into the spin, not with it, for the best results. Alright, so I know I said that I was going to start cutting out the body and working on that, but I realized that I still have quite a bit of work to do regarding the neck before the body really becomes relevant. So here I'm cutting down this blank that I ordered probably about a year ago at this point. It is a piece of cocobolo because I really love cocobolo and I really wanted to put it on a guitar. So that's what I got. Cutting it down to size. This piece is longer than I need. One of those pieces, I think the one I just cut off there, is going to become the face plate. I think I might be able to cut it into 2 face plates for the front of the headstock. And the piece I'm cutting here is going to be, eventually it'll be 2 fretboards. I did have a little bit of a problem, which you'll hear me talk about in the video in a second, that it did warp on me a little bit. It's thick enough that I'm pretty sure I'll be able to plane it down and get it flat and still have the proper thickness. I just haven't done that yet at this time, so I don't know yet. One of them is a little bit more straight than the other, and that one will definitely be usable, so not all is lost, but the other one I'm not quite sure about. So I was planning on using this piece, but this one seems to have actually warped more now that I've cut it. Whereas this one has stayed pretty straight. Let's see, can we get that on the camera? So, come on, focus. No, focus here. Come on. So, yeah, the camera's not really wanting to focus for me. But this one stayed pretty straight. Versus if you look at this one, yeah, you can definitely see that one's a little warped. It's hard to pick up on the camera. Not that it would be impossible to get it flat, but it would definitely be easier to get this one flat since it's starting much flatter. Well, it is what it is. Alright, so here I've got my acrylic template. I've peeled off the skin that protects it. But before I did that, if you can see, I scratched in, come on, focus. Focus, you can do it. Come on. Come on. Doesn't want to focus for me, come on. It just doesn't want to do it. Okay. So hopefully you can see. There it is. Yeah, I scratched a line down the center. Anyway, you saw it. I scratched a line down the center so that I've got a center line so I can put it on a piece of wood and line it up with the grain direction. After I got off the router, it didn't leave a perfectly smooth edge, so I used my trusty Black & Decker here. Put it in like this, and went around with, this is an eraser with some sticky back sandpaper on it, and just went around the edge carefully with that and with the razor blade, and it just finally scraped trying to get a nice, perfect square edge to the face, and just going around with my finger and trying to make sure it's all consistent and even, and that there's no funny bumps or ridges or anything that I don't want transferred from my template to my pieces of wood that I'm going to have to sand out. Unfortunately, I did that without showing you, but it was very tedious, took me a long time, and it wasn't particularly interesting to watch. Like I said, I basically just used this eraser and that razor blade to get the edge nice and smooth, and that was it. Cool beans. So next, hopefully, we'll work on the fretboard. Let's see, let me get over here. You see me a little better now? Yeah. Come on, focus on me. Yeah. So my fretboard template is on the way. I got the email from the seller. I still need to flatten my fretboard blanks and cut them down to size. I worked on my neck template. Here it is, here it is. Maybe I can put in a still shot that I took where I lined up the neck template and the body template, because my drawing papers that I originally drew everything out on were not big enough for me to draw the full body and neck in scale. So the first time that I saw the overall silhouette of the design was when I finished this and I laid the templates on top of each other, and man, that was so satisfying. I was so stoked, because up until that point it was all up here, what the whole thing was going to look like, and finally got to see it all together. So yeah, I'll try and put in a still on top of this right now or earlier, who knows. Anyway, that's it for this week's video. Tune in next time, and hopefully I'll start working on the fretboard.